Je vais présenter un peu en franglais aujourd'hui. Je ne sais pas pourquoi, j'ai fait ma présentation en franglais, alors c'est comme ça que ça va passer. Pour ceux qui ne me connaissent pas, je m'appelle Andy Isabelli et je suis représentante de la Société Honoraire de Français. C'est la dernière année pour moi. Malheureusement. Je suis aussi vice-présidente du chapitre Chicago, Northern Illinois. Je suis aussi directrice adjointe de la journée intensive, de quoi je vais parler un peu aujourd'hui aussi. Et j'enseigne, en plus, j'enseigne tous les niveaux de français à deux lycées, à Woodstock High School et Woodstock North High School. Je suis la seule prof de français. OK. Alors, je vais partager ma présentation avec vous. Voilà. Si vous voulez, vous pouvez entrer le bit.ly pour suivre avec moi. Comme ça, vous pouvez avoir une copie de la présentation. Sinon, je pense que je vais le mettre dans le dossier de AATF où sont tous les webinaires. OK, on va l'ajouter là. Alors, voici l'agenda du jour. On va commencer par un bienvenue pour introduire toutes les personnes qui sont responsables pour la Société Honoraire de Français. Je vais parler brièvement des heures de crédit de service, si ça vous intéresse. La journée intensive en français qu'on fait ici à Chicago. Comment on peut connecter avec d'autres personnes. Aussi, j'ai oublié de mettre les avantages de faire partie de la Société Honoraire et les jeunes amis du français. Alors, et à la fin, on va avoir les questions. Si vous avez des questions, vous pouvez le mettre dans le chat aussi. Soit Jane, soit Regina, vous pouvez m'aider parce que je ne sais pas si je suis capable de voir le chat au même temps que la présentation parce que sinon, ça va bloquer et je ne peux pas voir quoi je vais parler. OK, on commence. OK, voici la présentation du Conseil national de la Société honoraire de français. Votre présidente, c'est Regina Simmons. Elle vient de Massachusetts. Oui.
Bonjour tout le monde. Plaisir de vous voir aujourd'hui, ce 30 juin. Et je suis très reconnaissante à Andy, Tracy et Rosanne qui font partie du Conseil national aussi. Vous connaissez déjà Andy qui fait la présentation aujourd'hui. Et puis, notre autre professeur représentante, c'est Tracy.
Je veux dire un bonjour, Tracy.
Tracy Walker.
D'accord. Bon, bonjour tout le monde. Un plaisir de vous voir sur l'écran. Et c'est vraiment mon plaisir de travailler avec Andy dans ma deuxième année et sa troisième année. Et puis de connaître Regina et de connecter encore avec AATF et vraiment de soutenir les efforts pour vraiment améliorer le système et puis pour les étudiants en fait. Donc, merci beaucoup d'avoir pris le temps aujourd'hui.
Et puis en plus, on a Rosanne, leur fils. Tu es là, Rosanne, aussi?
Oui, oui, c'est ça, exactement. Bonjour tout le monde. Je suis très contente de voir qu'il y a tant de personnes qui vont participer aujourd'hui. Et aussi, c'est un plaisir de travailler avec Andy et Tracy et bien sûr, notre président Regina. Tout le monde travaille beaucoup pour l'organisation. Et je vais prendre l'occasion d'inviter tous les profs qui participent aujourd'hui de considérer de contribuer à quelque chose à notre newsletter, l'élan, pour parler de vos activités qui ont très bien réussi avec vos étudiants.
Merci, Roseanne. Et puis, enfin, la secrétaire, c'est April. Elle est là ou non? Elle n'est pas.
Est-ce que Lindsay est là aussi, Lindsay Gibson?
Lindsay est là. Elle peut dire bonjour.
Bonjour,
April.
Lindsay.
Elle est en train de se... Bah, April n'a pas de micro. Ça, c'est le problème. Elle nous écoute,
Oh,
mais elle n'a pas de micro.
d'accord.
C'est ça. Et Lindsay est là.
I'm
You want to
here.
say hello, Lindsay?
Hello, I'm Lindsay. I'm the administrative assistant to Jana Brott.
Okay, come here. Okay. April is coming. She's going to stand behind me. Let me turn the camera back on.
Hey guys, sorry, my computer.
La voilà.
Merci beaucoup à April et Lindsay pour tout ce que vous faites pour la Société Honoraire de Français. Nous sommes tous très reconnaissantes.
She's thanking you both.
Oh.
Thank you so much.
D'accord. OK, on continue. Si vous avez quelques questions pendant la présentation, on va bien parler à la fin, mais si c'est quelque chose qui est intéressant, quoi, vous pouvez le taper dans le chat et Regina ou Jane vont m'aider. J'arrive pas à voir le chat en présentant. OK. Voilà. So I'm just going to switch to English. I'm not sure why, but for some service credit hours, they are not required. Okay, just so you know. Some people do offer service credit hours. They do require them of their students, but they are not required by national. If you wish to have your students perform service credit hours, it needs to be written in your individual charters that you have for your particular chapter. So you can, decide on the constraints for that. I'll share with you what I do at my school. I'm sure other people do other things as well. But I typically require my French Honor Society students to perform 30 service credit hours, half of which need to be French related. And those can include participating in French Club. French Club does an outing for the Feed My Starving Children, a couple of hours there. The trip to France, that counts as all half of theirs because we typically go for a week or two. So that was canceled this year, but we're going to try again next year. Also, the French Immersion Day, 8 of their French hours. So basically it's anything that promotes the French language and culture. The other half, the other 15 hours can be any other type of service activity. Like we have the Christmas clearinghouse. They could volunteer for a church. They could volunteer to help a teacher set up their rooms at the beginning of the year. I like that one. Or to take things down at the end of the year. That's always nice. And I always let them know that they can share those 15 hours with National Honor Society. So what they claim for National Honor Society, they can double up with, and so they don't have to do over and above that, because with students' busy lives, it's hard for them to fit everything in. Being an honor society, I created a spreadsheet that I shared with my students at the beginning of the year, and they all just had to complete the spreadsheet. Oops, I guess it won't show you the spreadsheet, but it's there. So if you go in the bit.ly, then you can click on that link. So you can see a copy of my spreadsheet, just an example. I just put initials for the students' names, and then you can, check it out there. They just log their own hours. They specify whether it's French or other, and then I can just total them up by the end of the year. And if I see that they're missing, I'll contact them and say, hey, you could use a few more French hours. Why don't you watch a movie in French and log that in? something like that. Alors, on passe en français à la journée intensive. Voici le lien au nouvel site que Antonia a fait. D'abord, je vais raconter un peu l'histoire de la journée intensive de français pour Chicago. C'était commencé par Dana Zarnicki et Pat Older il y a 11 années, je pense, parce que ça va être le 12e l'année qui vient. Elles l'ont commencé dans un lycée. Je pense que c'était Niles. Tom, tu peux me corriger si ce n'est pas correct. Mais on a commencé petit, mais ça a agrandi, OK, jusqu'à 100 personnes. Plus que 100 personnes.
Oui.
100 élèves. C'est ici l'équipe que vous voyez dans la photo. C'est Sylvie Goutas, elle est la directrice. C'est une prof de University of Illinois, Chicago. Emily Fellman, Lisa Shamrock, moi et aussi Antonia Van Twisk. Ça fait 5 personnes pour remplacer Dana Zarnicki parce qu'elle était vraiment une force. Alors, nous, puisque nous enseignons, on a divisé le travail entre les personnes. Alors, chaque personne a ses travaux à faire pour la journée. Ça fait toute une année pour faire le planning. Alors, nous commençons maintenant pour l'année prochaine. Ce soir, nous avons rendez-vous pour discuter ce qu'on va faire l'année prochaine. On a d'habitude 2 rendez-vous avec les professeurs qui vont aider. Un en novembre, l'autre en février. Et la journée, c'est pour la plupart en mars, pendant la pause à l'université. Parce qu'on a commencé dans un lycée, mais on l'a changé à Dominican University. Parce que comme ça, les élèves peuvent voir une université. C'est aussi un peu de publicité pour cette université et il y a beaucoup plus de place. Pour chaque élève, je sais qu'une question qu'on voulait savoir d'avance était le prix. Ça coûte $32 et on peut s'inscrire en ligne ou si on a des difficultés avec ça, on peut imprimer le formulaire, remplir et puis l'envoyer. Nous avons une boîte à la poste où on peut le donner. Regina, tu vois quelques questions ou ça va, je continue? Je t'entends pas.
Juste une question et je ne suis pas sûre. C'était une question pour accéder à un spreadsheet, mais je ne sais pas lequel. Juanita?
Oui, le spreadsheet pour la Société Honoraire de Français.
Oui.
Ça ne marche pas, on n'a pas permission?
Il paraît
Oui, on n'a pas permission d'accéder.
Désolée, j'ai essayé de tous donner, mais ça n'a pas marché pour ça.
Peut-être après.
J'ai plus tard, OK?
Tu pourrais changer la permission. C'est bon. Et puis, à part cela, juste quelques commentaires pour les heures de service. Moi, j'ai une question pour toi, Andy. Tu as dit que tu exiges aux élèves de servir pendant 30 heures. Wow, c'est beaucoup.
Chaque année.
Wow, c'est super.
Oui, et ils le font. C'est bien, c'est facile avec le cercle français parce que nous, on a rendez-vous 2 fois par mois et puis on a aussi d'autres choses au-delà de la classe, des excursions, par exemple. On est allé à un concert d'Étienne, ça compte aussi pour les crédits et tout ça. Alors, la journée, c'est pour les Français 3 4, 5 AP et aussi pour quelques Français 2 qui sont très motivés. Alors, ça veut dire parce que c'est 8 heures qu'il faut rester totalement en français. C'est dur pour quelques élèves. Mais si mes élèves, par exemple, j'enseigne avec immersion. Donc, ils se sont déjà habitués à parler 1 heure en classe et à chaque fois qu'ils me voient, ils parlent en français parce qu'ils se sont habitués. Alors, pour mes élèves, c'était pas mal. J'avais une élève qui est allée l'année passée, elle était en français 2, elle n'avait pas de problème. Ils peuvent aussi apporter avec eux un dictionnaire. On donne aussi une liste de phrases utiles qu'on peut utiliser pendant la journée. Les professeurs sont là pour aider aux élèves aussi. Il y a aussi, comme j'ai dit, des professeurs qui aident. 4 professeurs dirigent les classes. Il y a 4 classes en quoi les élèves participent et je vais expliquer ça en détail, en plus de détails plus tard. Mais ces professeurs sont payés. C'est pas beaucoup, mais c'est pas mal. Et aussi, ils sont remboursés s'ils doivent acheter quelque chose pour les classes. Et d'où vient tout cet argent? Des bourses. Le AATF est très généreux et avec nous aussi l'Alliance française de Chicago nous donne des bourses. Je pense que $500 de chacun, c'est magnifique. Vous pouvez demander le small, what is that called? The small grant, Tom, help out.
It's a ATF Small Grants Fund.
Yes, c'est ça. So we petition for that every year. And the Alliance Française also has a wonderful trivia night, which I missed this year as well. It's okay, we never win anyway. We come close. So that and the $32 per student is how we collect the funds to pay for everything that needs to be purchased. Okay, l'organisation du jour. Comment ça se passe? So I'm going to walk you through. I also had up there the élèves universitaires qui aident. So we have university students who are currently studying French come and help out during the day as well as assistants because we need a lot of assistants to help out. There's just so many moving parts to this day. And it has grown and morphed over the years, but it still has that same general organization, as you will soon see. There we go. Okay, so le matin. So we started the day this year with something new. So before the French Immersion Day began, it was Eileen Walvard and Martha Balo who wanted to try to attract high school students to continue their French studies into the university level so that they might become French teachers as well. So they organized this breakfast before La Gif. So this was dedication on the part of the students who had to come at 8 a.m. But they had a lovely breakfast for them. They had I believe it was Eileen's former student who is now a French teacher. Yeah. So she's a brand new French teacher. She just came out of the program. So she was there. Tom, did you stay for that whole thing in the morning? Because I was able to stay. I just popped.
I did. I was there. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I wasn't there to see it.
Well, we know that in our organization, there's a concern that there are future French teachers to take our places. So that was the impetus. And so we tried to come up with a program to attract high school students who might want to continue French in college and then ultimately to become teachers. And we had 25 students who took part in it. We didn't charge the students anything extra. So this year, all that money came from our chapter funds. Next year, we've already received a grant from the National AATF to support the program for next year as well.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, and the feedback I got from students on the forms that we asked them to fill out was all very positive. They very much enjoyed hearing about the experiences of, do you remember what Eileen's student's name was?
Not off the top of my head.
Samantha, maybe? I don't know. Anyways, they really enjoyed hearing from her. So after that, then as the students were arriving, they would check in. And at the check-in table, they would get a folder that had basically the agenda for the day, the schedule, helpful words and phrases, different games that we would be playing. And most importantly, they had their passports. We had name badges for each of them that had their lunch orders on it. So that made, so they ordered all of this when they registered online. So we printed out little name badges that we put on their big name badges that says what they were going to have for lunch. It really helps make things a lot easier at lunchtime. So after they got that, we attached the name badge to a Mardi Gras beads, gave them their folders that had a pen in it, and it had, most importantly, their passports. So they had these little mock passports and they had to passer la douane. So they had to go through customs with their passports, and several teachers were at that station checking them in, giving them a stamp in their passports, and then giving, there were also fake euros in there for them to go buy their croissant and orange or apple juice. So they had a bit of a breakfast, and then they went to go play games. So if you can see at the top picture, there's some students there playing Guess Who. We had all teachers bring in different games. We had different Scrabble games. We had Spot-Its. We had just all kinds of different games for them to play to get to know each other. So we were encouraging them. The teachers were walking around trying to get people to play games as they were waiting for people to arrive. So they would have their breakfast and play the games. Then we would have the introduction when most, if not all, people were there. And inside their folders, they also had these papers that had a pledge. And they all had to say the pledge together, swearing to stay in French the whole day, promising. And then they were divided into groups. So on their folders, they had either an A, B, C, or D. They were part of one group. So AB, for example, went to 2 different classes, and CD had two other classes that they went to. So there were 4 classes total, but each student was only able to participate in one of them. So you see a couple of the classes here. There was one, and these are from different years from the past, because I've been a part of this since its inception many, many moons ago. So there was one where they learned how to put on the African headwear, which is the girl in the white shirt. And then I have to move my little picture. What is this one? Oh, and the other one is the douane, I believe, when they're checking in. And then the bottom left, that's just a conglomeration of pictures from the day that Etienne put together for me. Because he was our entertainment last year. He and his band knew. So that was fun. We always try to make it as interactive as possible. One of my favorites was the Mystère au Navire, which was a mystery on a cruise ship. And every student got their own personality, and I had props for them to wear. And they had to figure out who stole this rich lady's necklace. And it turned out to be a kleptomaniac, but they had to really interact, and it really got the kids talking. Oh, there's the bit.ly again in case you missed it. I put it in on all of these. So, and then in the afternoon, they would have lunch. And that first picture there is Martin Dionne, who is the, was the delegate from Quebec in Chicago. And he came and said a few words to the kids. We've had Guillaume Lacroix in the past as well, from the Consulat Général. And then during lunch, we also tried to do a little flash mob this year. That was interesting. I don't know if we'll discuss it tonight, but that was just a little impromptu fun. So we have all their lunches set up on a table, and they have their names, their name badges have what they ordered. Everybody always forgets. They go grab their lunches, and we encourage the teachers to go sit with the students, especially ones they don't know, just to kind of facilitate the speaking, keeping them in French the whole day. After lunch, we have the entertainment. So this year we had Etienne in the lower right there with me and Giselle. Giselle did one of the classes on Canada. We were trying to make it themed with Canada because of going to Trois-Rivières. So she did something with maple syrup and with dancing, I believe, and it was great fun. The kids loved it. In the past, we have also had drummers from Africa come, from Senegal. In the video at the bottom, taught us some African dances and songs. We had to like do a call and repeat. They also brought instruments for the kids to play with, and they had great fun doing that. So I don't think I can click on the video, but when you go to the bit.ly, you can watch that at your leisure. It's fun. So we try to get a different type of entertainment every year. And then after the entertainment, they do a chasse au trésor. This is a very complicated, intricate that has been developed over the years. So there are many different stations they have to go to, and each station has a country that it is themed after. They have to complete an activity at each station. Like one of them was a hint to go find the little, it was at the library at Dominican, I remember. They had to find the Little Prince, and they had to find the certain line in the book because it gave them the page number and the line number. And then they had to say that line to the person who would give them the clue to the next one, kind of like along the lines of the Great Race. But each group of students started at a different place, and then you had to go through all of the stations to get back to the end. Another one, what were some of the other stations that they had? Things, oh, they had proverbs. So they had the first part of the proverb and the second half of the proverb, and they had to match them up to make sense. So that was another one. So there's just a lot of different fun activities. One of them, the whole group had to sing a song in French from memory. So that was fun. We got a lot of happy birthdays. But the kids had a good time. And then we always give a prizes at the end too. We have a tombola. So we give away t-shirts, whatever we can get donations for. So people on the team in November, we have people calling to try to see if we can get donations from local vendors, from the Alliance Française. I know we've also had the leftovers from the Grand Concours. When they had all the prizes that they had there, they would donate those to us. So that was really cool. And of course, the chasse au trésor for the winning team, they get a prize as well. We try to give as many people things to remember as possible. We have some posters to give away, all kinds of fun things. And they each get a certificate with their name personalized on it for the day. And then at the very end, we have the many thanks to especially Dominican University. I believe we might be changing the location this next year, so more news about that. And we do take 100 students, and we always have a waiting list, always. So there's typically some kids who come up with conflicts, they're not able to go, so we can take people from the waiting list to go. but it fills up pretty fast. It's a very popular, fun day. And the students really do a great job of staying in French the whole day. So it's very awesome. And to continue this for many, many years. So if somebody wanted to start one of these, my suggestion would be to contact me to see if you can actually come to ours first to observe. It's always on a Saturday. And if you, because before I actually took part in helping with it, I was there as a participant to watch and see what goes on, because I can explain it to you like this here, but it doesn't come near to describing the whole ambiance and atmosphere of the day. You have to experience it. So it's something that's really amazing, and it's very beneficial, especially for AP students. I know one of the teacher rooms I did one year was an escape room, and it was aligned with AP standards. So it had a lot of the vocabulary for AP in it. I believe it was for science and technology, or maybe that was the one they wouldn't let me do. Because it was about blowing up hospitals and things, and it was kind of violent. So I think we decided not to do that one. So that's the French Immersion Day. Before I go on to connections, do we have any questions about La Journée Intensive? Regina, any questions in there? I might be able to.
There are a number of questions. In fact, I recommended to some people that maybe they unmute themselves to ask about the question. Some were wondering, one is, do you have your daily agenda in the presentation?
I do not. I can put it in there.
Okay, that's great. That was one thing that somebody asked about, and
yes, the venue. Okay, I found the chat room, so I'm able to go through here. So I'm just gonna, like, go back up and start from the beginning and see what we have.
One was about phones, whether the students have to give up their iPhones for the day.
They do not, and I'll tell you why. Because they use their cell phones for different things. So the escape room that I did, they actually had to have a QR reader, code reader, for part of the escape room. We also have a song list that students can contribute songs to, and they can access it. So we put up the QR codes all around that room where they had breakfast and played the games, and they were able to access the song lists that we came up with. So that was kind of fun too. They can also use them for translating purposes if they needed a word or two. We found that the kids weren't really, they were very focused on what we were doing. They were not using their phones for other purposes, really, you know. And we were also talking about maybe possibly having a Snapchat screen for the GIF. Oh yeah, we had a photo booth too. I remember we had a photo booth with a background and different props. We had berets and mustaches and all kinds of fun things where they could take pictures of each other, because, you know, it's all about promoting the language.
Did I see a picture on your Facebook page this year with Etienne? Was Etienne at the Immersion Day, or was that a separate event?
Yes and yes.
Okay.
He was at the Immersion Day, and he also came that following Tuesday, I think it was, for a concert that he gave to surrounding schools. So I took students to the concert as well as saw him at the Immersion Day, because we're trying to get people from Canada keeping along with the Canadian theme.
Andy, there's another really good question that just popped up.
All righty, just popped. Would you be willing to share digital copies of all of the documents? I have to get permission from Sylvie for that. So let me, before I say yes, we'll discuss that tonight. And I will let you know. So Steve and Laura, if you want to email me, my email is at the end of the presentation. Just to remind me of your question, I'll bring it up tonight and then I'll let you know. How schools participated? Wow. I cannot remember off the top of my head, but we had quite a few because we only allow 10 to 15 people per school to come so that we can allow more schools to participate. We may have had like 20, 22.
That's a good number, yeah, 20 to
Yeah.
22 different schools.
So, and there was a mixture of public and private. Predominantly public, I want to say, but there were some private school kids there too.
How do you send out your invitations? Is that through your AATF, your regional chapter, and you send out to the AATF members in your chapter?
Correct.
Okay.
And we have a website, which is linked in the presentation. So you can check out the website. There's a lot of information there. There's a lot of pictures. There's the registration forms, and all of that is on that site as well. So if you want to look more in depth, you can go to that website. It's a new website too. So there's an old one. If you get to the old one, if you Google it and it takes you to the old one, there's a link in there to get to the new site. So yeah.
Another question that somebody had, c'était en français. Donc la journée intensive, c'est pour les lycéens en collaboration avec les étudiants à l'université.
Oui, mais il y a aussi une nuit pour les étudiants à l'université. So we have a separate college immersion and the high school immersion. So we're going to talk tonight a little bit more about how that's going to look for next year. We have a little changing of the guard here and there. So we do have one for the college students as well. It's organized a bit differently than for the high school students, and I'm not sure exactly on that format. I can only speak to the high school one, but there are university students who come to help, and they help like giving directions to where to go. They help keep the kids in French. They help them navigate, basically. All right, what else do we have? This year, we're still planning, I believe. I don't know, like I said, we have our meeting like this evening right after this. So I'm sure that's going to be a topic for discussion, but we typically do it the first weekend in March when the university kids are on their break, so that, you know, we don't interrupt with other things. So as far as it stands now, I think we're going to be holding it, but it's going to probably look a lot different considering all the contraindications we have here with the COVID and everything. So not hold off to the spring, because our chapter has so many things going on in the spring. I can't see us moving the date, to be honest. So we kind of have to keep it where it's at. What else? Regina, did you see any others?
Question about whether the schools were predominantly public or private.
Answered that one.
Oh, you did? Okay.
It currently takes place at a university, on a university campus. So we use the auditorium area, the cafeteria, and then several classrooms. And then for the Chasse au Trésor, we have different areas around the school that they have to go to. So they actually have to travel around.
And is your Chasse au Trésor in the presentation as well?
It is not. So once again, I have to see if we can share that or not. And I will let you know what I can share later after our meeting tonight.
And how does the Chasse au Trésor work?
So each team will get a clue, and they have to like answer a question, or they have to decode a puzzle, or they have to, and it will give them a clue as to what country they need to go to and where they can find it in the school. Sometimes it'll give them directions in French as to where to go. So they have to figure out the directions and follow those. And then once they get to that place, they will have a task that they have to complete. Like one of them had a map of the world, and they had little flags that they had to place for each of the French-speaking countries. And they had to match those up. So once they did that, then they got the clue to the next one, and they had to figure out where to go from there. It gave them directions in French. Is that how it went, Tom? They had directions. Click again. You just muted yourself.
Yes, that's how it worked.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And I think there were 10 stations. Each was a Francophone country or region.
Right. One of them, there was a telephone where one person said something, they had to pass it to the next person, and that last person had to have the same message as the first for them to be able to go on. If not, they had to keep going until they could get it. So, yeah. And then when they finally got to the last one, it gave them directions. Congratulations, you're done. You can go back to the auditorium. So the first team to get back there won.
And did you have prizes for
Yes.
the winners? What were your prizes?
I believe we gave them t-shirts.
Okay.
They had different t-shirts.
You really seem to have a
Saturday. It's on a Saturday, so it goes from like 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., give or take. Of course, the teachers who work it have to be there much earlier and stay much later to clean up, but many hands make light work. So when everybody's there working together, and the teachers can get professional development hours for this too. I forgot to tell you about that. So not only for attending the day, but if you're helping out as a volunteer, you can also get professional development hours. And this depends on your state and how it's run. But in Illinois, ICTFL has been very generous in allowing us to get professional development hours for the planning as well as the day. And the teachers also get that professional development time for presenting, because they were preparing the class. So for that time, they get extra hours for that. Up to, I want to say 15 at the most. Does that sound right, Tom?
Yes. You handled that this year, the PD hours.
I did.
That was one of the tasks, yeah.
Yeah, but I've had so many different things going on that I confuse things sometimes with how many hours for what. So I've done several PD things this year for other things too.
I mean, one of the things that does help in our chapter is that we're Chicago and Northern Illinois, but the vast majority of our members and the schools are in the Chicago region. So the most a school would have to travel would be 45 minutes to get to wherever we would have it. So that the geography does help us, as opposed to a chapter where it's an entire state.
Right.
You do seem to have a very active chapter.
That's an understatement.
I see, Tom, I don't think I've ever met you in person. Maybe at one of the conventions I've met you before. I think I have. But I know I've seen you in pictures at the Dîner en Blanc with Martha and Fanny.
Yeah, we are fortunate that we are a geographic chapter that, again, we're within an hour of everybody. That's number one. Number two, we have the largest chapter, but we also have a lot of very active people. So that really helps a lot in our chapter.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing this information with us. How many hours, Andy, would you say if somebody were, for example, I'm thinking about possibly, I mean, I'm a little bit scared because we're all so busy these days, and I know once we take anything on, it's many more hours than we expect it to be. How many hours would you say you put into the planning of this, A to Z? And
countless hours. It's an all I don't want to say all day, every day thing, but it's a lot. To do the planning for it all, the 5 of us, that's why it takes 5 of us. See, Donna Zarnicki was retired, so she had more time, but we're teaching most of the time during the school year, so it makes it difficult. But we also depend on all of the other teachers who assist. We probably had 15 teachers helping out in addition to the 5 of us.
So is this the AATF chapter that did this together? Okay, okay, that makes, yeah, because I know it would just be impossible for any one teacher to do.
Oh yeah, it's immense. So you have to have a team of people that are willing to help out. And like I said, attend one if you can first to kind of get a feel for it. And you can sit down and debrief with the organizers. You know, I'd be happy to do that with you in detail. You can come stay at my house. Come visit me. Okay, so should we move on to Connexion? Ready?
Oui.
Ready, steady. If I didn't get to everybody's questions, I'll look at them again at the end. And then you can, if there's something that's burning that you want to email to me, I can contact you directly. Or if you want to unmute at the end when we have our questions, then you can bring that up, you know, if I didn't get to it in the chat. So, yep, we'll just go on from there, because how long are we going to finish at 4? Was that the plan? Okay, so I have 9 minutes. So, les connexions. So how do we make connections with other people who are French teachers? That's a good question. There we go. So you can use your local AATF chapter or the national AATF. Making connections there has really helped. If you go to different, there's a Facebook page specifically for the French Honor Society. So if you have not liked this Facebook page, I put a link there for you. I put a link to the national AATF site because under that, under promotions, you'll see there's a link for la Société Honoraire de Français et les jeunes amis du Français, which is the middle school French Honor Society as well. You can attend workshops and conventions. I know a lot of them are doing them online right now. ACTFL is doing it online. The ICTFL, Illinois Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages, is doing it online because I'm presenting at that as well. So got to get another one of these Zooms going. So if you attend these, you can connect with other French teachers, because I know many of us, I know me for one, I'm the only one in my school, in my district. So I don't have anybody that I can, you know, bounce ideas off of or connect with. So joining the Chicago Northern Illinois chapter has been a godsend to me, because I have made so many amazing connections that I get together regularly with Erin Gibbons, and she teaches in Barrington, and we'll just sit at Panera for hours and just bounce ideas off each other and help each other lesson plan and write curriculum. And it's amazing what you can do when you just put yourself out there and just reach out. I know our chapter, I'm on the membership committee as well. So we are looking at making a map and trying to get all the French teachers in our region so that we can get people who are close to each other to maybe connect. So we're looking at possibly starting little mini pockets of groups of people to connect just outside of the meeting setting that we usually have for our executive council. So these are several ways that you can, and when you go to these workshops and conventions, you meet so many people, and you can connect with people that way. If you talk to textbook companies, they can connect you with other French teachers. the Alliance Française is another good, and there's a connection for you. They can connect you not only with other French teachers, but with other French speakers who aren't necessarily teachers. So you might have a rich resource of people you could bring into the classroom. I don't know about now, but video by video maybe could be fun. I know most major cities have an Alliance Française. So wherever you're at, if you just Google Alliance Française near me, you should be able to find one. I know the Chicago chapter is very active, and our chapter has done many things in conjunction with them. Like I said, the trivia contest that they do, I'm just going to let that one go. I get salty about it because we always come in second. Okay, so what are some benefits of belonging to the French Honor Society or the Jeunes Amis du Français? So there are benefits for students as well as teachers. The main benefits for students, we do have a travel award for the French Honor Society, and one of my students was fortunate enough to win it this year. I know Tom has had students who have won it. I'm sure many of you who are here have also had students. It's $1,000 award, and it doesn't have to be a homestay. It could be, you know, traveling for a week with ACIS or with EF Tours. It could be a homestay. It could be an exchange. It could be a whole semester that you're staying somewhere. It could be, what was the other thing we came up with, Regina? The
Concordia. There was somebody who applied this
villages
year for Concordia Language Villages immersion weekends.
Right,
And
for those who aren't able to travel overseas, you know, maybe they don't have enough money to be able to do that, even with the scholarship. If there's something more local that they could do that is immersion, like the Concordia Language Villages, we were also opening it up to that as well. So that is a wonderful thing, and that is open to any French Honor Society student. There's a limit as to how many can apply per teacher. But you can find all of that on the website. It has all the information. We also have a creative writing competition at both the high school level as well as the middle school level. They did calligram, which are very interesting, very fun to read. And then for the high school, we come up with a different topic every year, which we usually develop during our meeting that we have at National. So Regina, we got to figure out when we're going to actually come up with it for next year.
yes,
I forgot about that, so we'll have to talk about that.
yes, and it was so much fun to read this year the Conversations avec des célébrités francophones. They were just beautiful, and I also am so grateful to have teacher reps reading along with me, and I think it's very interesting, and it shows how strong the rubric is, because what we tended to do between the three of us was our scores were quite similar.
Yes.
And the rubric really worked well for that. But I think it's a great way to recognize students and their abilities and to reward them with the $100 award and the publication. And the same thing on the $1,000 travel award. I had a student last year who won, and I couldn't have been happier with who that student was. She's just, you know, one of the most delightful kids and was so deserving, and she wouldn't have been able to do our French exchange if it hadn't been for that $1,000.
Right, and so we're talking about the travel award and the creative writing competition right now that is open to French Honor Society members. All of that information is on the national site. If you go to that link that says AATF and you click on that, once I make this presentation available, then you'll find all the information you need. It gives you all of the constraints, how much the teacher can and can't help. And we encourage more people to do it because it's an incredible experience. Even if you do it with all of your students and then just take the French Honor Society ones to submit to the competition. I think it's a great activity for all students. So that could be something fun to do. Oh, I think you guys are talking in the chat about the end of the year report that the French Honor Society sponsors are asked to do. We read those also. We read every single one of them. So we go through those, and I'll talk about that a little bit when I get into the benefits for teachers.
And those are due today. So if you haven't sent in your report just yet, please be sure to take some time to do that. And so we'll be in touch with some of you to ask if you'd be willing to write an article for L'Élan with some of the activities that you share in your year-end reports.
So for students, when they put that they were in the Jeunes Amis du Français and the Société Honoraire de Français, looks great on college applications. It shows dedication. It shows a high level of achievement. They get to wear cool cords at graduation. Well, not this year, virtually, but typically. There's also a possibility of being published in L'Élan, which is the newsletter that goes out to French teachers all around the country. So these students who won the creative writing competition, those entries go into the publication. And also the travel award recipients have to write reflections on their travels, and that goes into the Élan as well. So they'll be able to be published, which is really cool to be recognized. Benefits for teachers, you will be able to promote your program with these things, because when students hear they're able to win money, because the creative writing competition is also a monetary award, and the travel award, like I said, was $1,000. When they see that, they're like, oh, I want to take French because then I can try for these competitions, and you know, it's beneficial to them. So it really helps you promote the French program. It also gets you a free invitation to the breakfast at the National Convention. That's always a great breakfast. So, and it's a chance to just kind of informally meet and talk. So that's kind of fun. And then also you can look through the Élan for ideas for your classroom, because there's a coin pédagogique, I believe, no, something of that sort, where teachers, they will give in ideas. And like Regina was saying, the end of year reports, when you tell us about things that you have done throughout the year, we take those and we ask if you would be willing to publish those in this for other people. So you can also become published, which is great on your evaluations. You go tell your principal and say, look, I'm published in this national newsletter. How great am I? So it does help in many ways. Merci beaucoup. We are at the end. So who wants to unmute and ask a question?
Hi, I'm so sorry. You were answering my question that was on the chat list, and I was scrolling up trying to find other stuff, so I apologize. Could you please reiterate what you said about the creative writing, where the rubrics are, and how much assistance an instructor can or cannot give to their students as they're creating something to submit to you?
Yes, so all of that information in very great detail is on the national website. So in my presentation, let me see if I can go back. Okay, on this page where it says connections, the very first line, local, national, AATF, the words AATF, you click on that. Okay, that's the national AATF website. Under that, you will see.
Okay, so that they used to not be there, so I'm behind the times because they weren't there for such a long time that I kind of like forgot and didn't do it for a long time. I'm trying to get my mailed back into a pile. So anyway, thank you very much for pointing out.
So that's where you're going to find all that information, how much help you can give, exactly what they need to do. It gives you the deadlines, all the details you need. It gives you the rubric, so you know exactly the way it's going to be evaluated. All that's there.
All right, merci bien.
Pas de quoi. Any others?
Yes, please. I have a question. What is the definition of a chapter? Because I'm new to this, and every time I fill out the membership for the AATF every year, they ask me about the chapter. So is the biggest school in my region with numbers of students, or what is a chapter definition?
So a chapter is a region, like Illinois has 2 chapters. It's got the Chicago Northern Illinois chapter, which is in the top half of Illinois, or top third maybe. And then the downstate region, which is if you are anywhere in the southern part of Illinois, you are in the downstate chapter. If you teach anywhere in the northern part of Illinois, you are in that chapter. So it depends on location where you are. If you go to that, click on that AATF, you can also see where the different chapters are. I believe that one takes you to a map of all the chapters in the United States, and you click on your area, and that will tell you what chapter you are. It will have the president's name and contact information so that you can become a member of that chapter and reap all the benefits.
What is also confusing to people is that when you're dealing with membership, we're talking about the geographic chapters that Andy has just described so thoroughly. But when we're talking about Honor Society, a local high school can have a chapter of the Honor Society.
Right.
And that is different. And we often refer to it as a charter. You request a charter for your high school. Just because the word chapter gets confusing, but there's a geographic chapter that applies to membership, and then your school must have for you to induct students a chapter of the Honor Society.
A charter, you mean?
Charter.
A charter, right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
So who's the chapter of Ohio, please, Jane? If you...
Ohio, I know all 70 sets of officers.
I know this is a hard question.
But the Ohio, Lindsay's looking it up.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
But if you go to the website, it says join now. No, it's what does it say? Chapters. There's a link that says chapters, and that takes you to a map. And you can click on Ohio, and it's chapter 46, but it will take you to the link for the president and the treasurer, and you can
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks.
Hello, hi, I have a question. So Andy, you were talking about, I'm sorry, Kara Torkelson, I'm president of AATF for Wisconsin.
Yay,
and
neighbors.
And we always on my list, I think it'd be really helpful if we did start that map, like where the map of where these French teachers are. And so it just seems like a huge undertaking, like where are you going to start? Yeah.
So we have already started. What we've done is we have taken like several days, and I don't even think we're done yet, are we, Tom? We've taken several days where we take a chunk of time, maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours, where, I don't know, 7 to 8 of us get together in one area, and we've each got our computers, and we're each tackling a certain section of the list. We have, where did we get our list, Tom?
The Illinois State Board of Education is what we started with.
Okay, all right.
And then we research, we click on the website for the school to make sure that teacher's still there. We try to contact that teacher to say, hey, do you want to become a member? If right. And we cross-check that with the member list that we already have, and it is time consuming. But many hands make light work.
No, I hear you. And then Tom, you said you got it from
from our State Board of Education.
State Board of Education.
But keep in mind, in our case, though, that doesn't include any private schools or any of the religious schools. Those would not be on the state boards.
Right.
That we would have.
So you just
we've been researching that too.
Yeah. I just think it'd be so helpful.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
So we are at 4:09. Thank you so much, Andy, for sharing this wonderful information with us. And thank you to everybody who has taken the time out to attend this webinar today on your summer vacation. We look forward to seeing you again on August 4th, when Tracy will be sharing some strategies for student engagement. Hopefully with everybody, and thank you so much. Any other questions before we go? Bonnes vacances. Au revoir. Take good care of yourselves. Merci.
À bientôt.
Au revoir à tout le monde. Merci
Au
beaucoup.
revoir.
Merci beaucoup, Andy. C'était un plaisir. C'était très bien fait. Hein? Merci, Regina. Merci, Regina.
Merci pour une bonne présentation. Merci. À
Au
bientôt.
revoir.
Au revoir
À bientôt,
et à bientôt.
peut-être.
Bonne journée tout le monde.
Bonnes vacances.